Angela Shelby, Fred Film Radio from the 81st Venice Film Festival. I'm here with Tim Fehlbaum, director of September 5. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your movie tells the story about the day when the way of making TV news changed completely. You know, this is the Munich Olympics where something so big happened live and nobody knew how to manage it. What drew you to this topic, to this story, and how did you manage it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would go that far to say that it was the moment that everything changed.
Pretty much.
But it certainly was a turning point. And the initial point of inspiration was actually when we had the research conversation with someone who was in that room on that day, Jeffrey Mason, who is also the main character in the movie. And we were researching because we were interested in Munich 72, and we had a conversation with him. And he told us about this 22 hours of marathon of reporting on this. And when we were listening to that, to him and to his telling about this experience, it dawned on us for the first time, and we thought like, oh, maybe it couldn't be interesting to tell it only from that point of view. And this I found immediately intriguing for two reasons. First of all, I liked the cine. I thought that it was a interesting, challenging idea to make a film that only takes place in that studio. I personally like movies that actually take a certain strength from a limited space.
Yeah.
So this was an interesting challenge as a director from a filmmaking point of view. And the other thing is that I, as someone who is in a way working in the media myself, is something that I could much more relate to, and thought like, okay, these questions that they face there, these are interesting questions.
Yeah, but it was a big moral question, first of all, that they have to decide right on the spot, and probably they were not prepared to that.
No, that's important. Of course, that's something that specifically also interested me, that it was not people that were experienced or trained to report on something like this. These were a bunch of sports people that suddenly had to make the switch from news to sports.
And that kind of news.
Yeah, and that kind of news. And that offered an interesting way of that we could confront them with these moral questions that you have to deal with if you report on a crisis situation like this.
Listen, when you were thinking about making the film like visually, what was your approach to the visual aspect of it?
Yes, first of all, our approach was to be as authentic as possible. So we spent a lot of time on researching, because also it was important for us to give today's audience a feeling of the technology back then. So that had to be 100% accurate. And the production designer, Julian Wagner, and his team, they did a lot of research. And we had all of these devices there in our studio that were really back from that day. And a lot of them could even work. And the visual approach that I had together with Markus Förderer, the DP, was, on the one hand, we wanted it to look like a film, like a period film from back then. Yeah. So we did tests on film and everything, so that looked. But on the other hand, we wanted to have a modern feeling to it. And what we very early on were talking about is like, we want to have it as if we ourselves would be a broadcast or a documentary team in that room covering what they're doing live. So the camera was always there, and we did long takes. And we had always two cameras so that you could cut them like in a live TV show. And that was the general idea, so that it almost feels like, oh, we ourselves are lives.
Yeah, it's like it actually feels like a reality show at some point.
Well, that was the idea. Yes.
Well, so the idea worked.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that. Yes,
yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot for your film.
Oh, no, thanks you.
Thanks a lot to Tim Fehlbaum, director of September 5, for having been with us here at Fred Film Festival from the Venice Festival, for Fred, the Festival Insider.
Okay, good. Thank you, Fred.